Jesus said in Matthew chapter 13 verse 25, "While good men slept, evil ones came and sowed bad seed among the wheat and then went away." Winston Churchill once said, "A lie is halfway round the world before the truth has got its boots on." And Albert Einstein said, "If I were to remain silent, I'd be guilty of complicity." What do these three statements have in common? Well, perhaps one thing is the fact that remaining silent in the midst of evil is not an option for those who know the truth. Hi, I'm Pastor Chester Hitchcock, and my YouTube videos are committed to examining things in our culture, from politics to LGBTQ+, from a non-traditional but very biblical perspective with a focus on Jesus Christ. And as a pastor who enjoyed nearly 30 years of pastoral ministry, one of my greatest frustrations was watching critics and troublemakers get by with their verbal abuse and nonsense, while good people remained silent because they didn't want to be a part of the drama. I understand the desire to seek peace and get along with everyone. That is certainly a biblical principle that Christians should strive for. Unfortunately, we live in a fallen world where those who want to control others around them have no problem spewing their criticism and twisting things around to get their way and to restrict the freedoms of others by making their lies sound sanctified. Matthew chapter 13 verse 25 is part of a parable that Jesus told just after telling the parable of the sower. In the parable of the sower, Jesus told of a man who sowed seed that fell on different types of ground. Some seed fell among the rocks, and some among the thorns, and some on good ground. The seed that fell on the good soil is the only seed that truly survived because it was able to bear fruit. In other words, the truth not only sprouted in the soil that it was planted in, but it also bore much fruit that grew 100-fold. The next parable that begins in verse 24 is about a man who sowed good seed, but while his hired workers slept, which is a euphemism for keeping silent, evil men sowed bad seed among the good and then left. Where did they go? Who knows? But Winston Churchill would probably say halfway around the world doing the same thing everywhere they went. Albert Einstein gives the ultimate meaning and the reason for the parable that Jesus taught. That is, don't sleep. More specifically, don't keep silent, for in doing so you become guilty of complicity. Too many good pastors who want to tell the good news, which is the gospel, choose to keep silent, while those who want to control everyone around them spews nonsense. They hope that if they just ignore it, it will go away, but that's not what Jesus' parable teaches us. Therefore, as a pastor, I tried to never keep silent in the midst of critics and controlling individuals. Jesus certainly didn't, and neither did the Apostle Paul or the other apostles. In a fallen world where politics and religion both affect and influence everyone, there is a need for good people to speak out against the foolishness that's often presented as good seed, but is not anything more than briers and thorns. In a recent story about a 10-year-old girl in Ohio seeking an abortion after being raped, Fox News and other controlling politicians such as Jim Jordan tried to debunk the story as being fake. Now that the rapist has been arrested, Jim Jordan silently took down his tweet without apologizing to the young unnamed 10-year-old girl and the multitude of other minor children being abused by pedophiles. Will Fox News retract their lies that they have spread halfway around the world? Probably not. This is the type of news agency that Fox News is known for. How stupid can these people be? Regardless of whether the story was real or fake, how many children are being raped by pedophiles every year? How many 10-year-old girls risk getting pregnant from their rapists and will now be forced to carry a pregnancy to term when their bodies are often not strong enough to deal with such trauma? As Paul said to the Christians in Galatians chapter 3 verses 1 and 2, "O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" I say to the sleeping Christians of our time, "O foolish Christians, who has bewitched you?" How can you keep silent if only one 10-year-old girl is raped and becomes pregnant? How can you keep silent and force her immature body to deal with the trauma of carrying a pregnancy to term after already suffering the trauma of her body being invaded by an evil one sowing bad seed? How can you sleep? How can you keep silent? Your silence makes you complicit. Shame on Fox News. Shame on Jim Jordan and all the right-wing politicians who spew their twisted foolishness that makes Christians accept it. Just as the Galatians accepted the twisted religious beliefs of the critics of Paul. Shame on the foolish Galatians. Shame on the foolish Christians who support this kind of religion with their silence or worse with their votes. Jesus has sown good seed, and as one of his servants, I will not keep silent while the enemy sneaks in to sow briers and thorns. A lie might get halfway around the world with Fox News, but my boots are on and I'm stomping it down. I will not be complicit by means of silence. So if this video has been helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell and choose all to make sure that you get a notification the next time that a video is produced. God bless. I'll see you in the next video.